Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today we continue our tarot series, and we are cycling through the major arcana. We are taking a grand leap. We're working through the 22 trump cards from the Thoth tarot deck. I think it's very useful to work within a specific deck and its symbol system and try to really understand it. And the Thoth deck is what we are working with. Today we are looking at the Universe card, and this is a video for Patreon only. So I really do appreciate very much my subscribers that support my Patreon. This helps me to where I can really put my focus on making these videos. So I really do appreciate it. So this video is for Patreon. And after a year, it will be available for everyone. So every other video I make for Patreon. Okay, so today we're looking at the Universe card. This card is all about the spirit coming into matter. The unmanifest becoming manifest. This card connects Yesod and Malkut on the Kabbalistic tree of life. This is all about coming into form, and also the limitations of form and matter. It's associated with the letter Tau, or Tav, which in Hebrew means cross. And think of a four-armed cross and being pinned to the cross of the four elements. And also, if you look at the card, it is actually turning and spinning. It is a great dance that is taking place. And this turning, and think of the fourfold turning, the fourfold cycles in nature. You have the four seasons, you have sunrise, noon, sunset, midnight. You have the equinoxes and the solstices. So it's a fourfold. The gematria of the Hebrew letter Tau, or Tav, is 400. And 4 plus 0 plus 0 is 4. 400, yeah. So comes out to 4 if you add the digits together. And 4 has to do with the world of limitation, of matter, of restriction. It should be pretty obvious, but of course I'll say this here, that understanding just this 22 card series, really understanding it in depth, really requires a lifetime of study. And these are the mysteries. And the mysteries are not something that can always be put into words. They're something that are experienced. And like a flower, it unfolds with time. These cards should be meditated upon, really contemplated, contemplating the symbols. But this card represents the material universe. So the Fool is the negative issuing into manifestation. It is the unmanifest stepping towards manifestation. It is the Kabbalistic zero, and it is, well, Keter. It is coming down the tree towards material manifestation. And this ends at the Universe card right there at Malkut, which represents the physical world. So the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Sephirot numbered 1 through 10, represents the process of spirit coming into matter, of non-being coming into being. Moving from the Fool towards the Universe represents the secrets of magic, of creation, of bringing spirit into form, of manifesting your reality, and some would say the process of sex magic is hidden in there. Moving backwards through the trumps from the Universe up towards the Fool is the path of return, the path of initiation, moving from this material world of asiya, of limitation and restriction of form, and moving up towards the more subtle aspects of being until we have reached ultimate union with the divine and our own true nature that is beyond form. And I think, of course, it would be remiss not to actually read from the Book of Thoth and what it has to say. This card connects Yesod and Malkut. Now, I have made some videos going over the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and we don't really have too much time to just go over the basic Tree of Life here. But this card connects Yesod and Malkut. And if you look at the back of the card, you see a moon, Yesod. And here you have the green of Malkut. So Yesod and Malkut. This connects the world of Yetzirah and Asiya, the astral and the material planes. And this has to do with all of the higher forces coming into manifestation. Again, think of the cross of Tau as the cross of Saturn, the cross of limitation, restriction. And it's turning. Just like the equinoxes and the solstices, or sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight. It's turning. This is the dance. And also it represents the great work accomplished, because the daughter of Tetragrammaton is united with the sun. She holds the sickle. She is set upon the throne of the mother, because Tau represents both He final of Tetragrammaton, and it also represents Saturn, so Binah. And the eye could be seen as an aspect of the All-Father, so Father, Mother, Son, Daughter of Tetragrammaton. It also represents the union of the Nefesh with the Holy Guardian Angel. And notice that she makes the signs of LVX. This little symbol behind her is called a Moebius, what do you call it? It's a Moebius strip. It represents, it's all one, and yet it takes these different forms. It represents how, you could see it as an aspect of the three gunas also, how it's all one continuous form, and yet it takes these three forms. Also notice the head of her head, the daughter of Tetragrammaton here, her head looks a lot like, well, a vagina, the yoni. And notice these two forms look like testicles and then the phallus. So there's clearly a phallic yonic thing. And up here is the eye of Shiva. And really this whole thing makes the eye. And also it makes the vesica Pisces. This oval makes the vesica Pisces. The vesica Pisces is formed by taking the first circle could be said to represent Keter. The second circle, its reflection, is Chokmah. These combine when you put two circles that have the same center. The edges meet, and the edge of each circle meets in the center of the other. You form the vesica Pisces, which again is a feminine symbol and represents Binah, the womb of manifestation, that all things come into being. So this card, in a nutshell, connects Yesod and Malkut, the path of Tau. It represents materialization. The full is non-being coming into being. It is spirit moving towards material realization. The 20 cards in between these two represent the process of coming into manifestation, coming down the tree, finalizing in the universe, which is the coming into being in the material world. So you're looking at the subtler aspects of being, and yet moving up the tree in reverse order, this is the great work, the process of initiation, the path of return. So the universe and the full are complements. It is the beginning and the end. Also, you'll notice that she and her dancing partner, who is Heru Raha, make a figure 8. And the number 8 could refer back to the adjustment card and to Mott. If you look at the adjustment card is also the complement of the Fool. The adjustment card, the letter Lamed, the adjustment card is also the complement of the Fool. And together these spell El. The Fool and adjustment. It represents matter, the world of forms, in which things play out in time and space. So if the daughter and the son, the Nefesh and the HGA, if the daughter, the earth mother, whatever, united with Heru Raha is to be seen as an 8, this could refer to the adjustment card, which is about non-being, experiencing the limitations of being. So our true source is spiritual, and yet we are experiencing the limitations of time and space, of event. And yet also, in some, these numbers were switched back to the old way in the Thoth deck, but in a lot of decks, 8 also refers to strength or lust. And these could also be said to represent the woman and the lion. And another way of looking at this. So, really this is about spirit coming into matter, non-being coming into being, the unmanifest taking form. This is the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So the letters from Aleph all the way to Tav is the process of non-being coming into form, coming into being. And moving from Tav up towards Aleph is the path of return. So this is the process of creation and then the path of return. Now, within a reading, many people that work with tarot are used to the world or the universe representing coming into form, realization, coming to fruition. Okay, so a project you've been working on, you get the world card, the universe card. Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to come into manifestation, and yet the divinatory meaning given with the Thoth deck has to do with stagnation, obstacles, difficulties, crystallization. And this really refers to the rigidness and stubbornness of matter. When things are hard and rigid and the limitations of matter, they're limited in the realm of form. Sometimes it's hard to get things moving. And so you get this little booklet here that goes with the Thoth deck. Divinatory meaning of the universe. The matter of the question itself. Synthesis. The end of the matter. May mean delay, opposition, obstinacy, inertia. So this has to do with the limitations of Saturn. And remember that Saturn represents time. So the matter of the question itself, synthesis, the end of the matter, may mean delay, opposition, obstinacy, inertia. Inertia is like a lack of movement. Patience, perseverance, persistent stubbornness and difficulty, the crystallization of the whole matter involved. So, while we're used to this card representing something coming into fruition, something finally manifesting, it's associated with Saturn. It could also represent difficulty and obstacles, that things are pretty rigid. It may be a little difficult to get things moving along. Think of a rock. It's solid. It is what it is type of thing. What you see, how things look, how things are now, it's kind of hard to get things moving, get things going. So Saturn and Earth both have to do with limitation and restriction. So let's take a look at what the Book of Thoth has to say about this card. First of all, when looking at any of the major arcana, we first need to turn to page 268 and look at where the card is on the Tree of Life. As we see, the Universe card connects Yesod and Malkut, and it connects Yetzirah and Asiya. This connects the astral, the higher forces, the higher spiritual forces coming into matter. This is the material world. This is the astral plane. It's coming into form. It's coming into manifestation. So this is where the Universe card is. Very important in this book, when you pull a trump card, look at the Tree of Life on page 268 and look at what it represents. And as I said, I have made cards talking about the Tree of Life and the basics of the Tree of Life. We'd be here forever if we go through that here. Now, if you go to page 260, there are little meditative things to focus on, and also the divinatory meaning. Really just a repetition of the divinatory meaning given in this little booklet that comes with it. But we see a meditation here, kind of like the Book of Tokens, for those of you that are familiar with Paul Foster Case and Builders of the Adytum. And that actually helped me out quite a bit, because I spent a couple of years working with that. And it's good to broaden your horizons and look at different ways of looking at the tarot. But what does the meditation say here on page 260? In Roman numerals, XXI, that's 21, that's the Universe. Remember that Saturn represents time. And Saturn and Earth are associated with the Hebrew letter Tau, which is associated with this card. And she holds the scythe of Saturn. Treat time, this is what it says. Treat time, Saturn is time, treat time and all conditions of event as servants of thy will, appointed to present the universe to thee in the form of thy plan. I'm going to repeat that. Treat time and all conditions of event as servants of thy will, appointed to present the universe to thee in the form of thy plan, and blessing and worship to the prophet of the lovely star. So these meditations, all of these things are not just things to read or to explain in a video. They are things to be meditated upon, ruminated upon. And this is how the tree is truly planted within our consciousness, through meditation, through running through all these different associations. Also very important, if you're going to work through this, is the book 777, going through those tables of correspondences. And then it gives the same divinatory meaning here as it has in this book. It says, the matter of the question itself, synthesis, the end of the matter, may mean delay, opposition, obstinacy, inertia, that's a lack of movement, patience, perseverance, persistent stubbornness and difficulty, the crystallization of the whole matter involved. Now, we flip back a little further to page 220. On page 220, we have the different Hebrew letters. The Hebrew letter here is the Hebrew letter Tav, or Tau, as Crowley says. The Hebrew letter Tav, it says, naught becomes all, to realize the span of naught, O perfect universe of Pan. So non-being coming into being, that the source of all thing resides in the monad, which is not so much nothing as perhaps the lack of things. It is neither A nor B, it is neither black nor white, or hot or cold. There are no distinctions within it, so that it appears as a great nothingness. The That is one interpretation of that. Some would say that's very simplistic, Taliesin. How could you? Not becomes all. The full is the Kabbalistic zero, nothingness. So, if that's the beginning is nothing, then the end must also be nothing, but nothing in its complete expansion. Naught becomes all, to realize the span of naught, O perfect universe of Pan. These are things to be meditated on and contemplated. Naught becomes all, to realize the span of naught, O perfect universe of Pan. What I literally do when I work with whatever card, I make it my background screen on my phone. And I highly recommend that people do this. Make it your background screen and lock screen. So every time you go to check the time on your phone or check Facebook or a text message, the card flashes before your eyes. So you're putting those images in your subconscious. And also, I like to put these little meditations there. Take a little screenshot of that and crop it where it's all that you see is the quote for this. Not the whole page, you just want that one thing, and then make that your lock screen or whatever. So you're able to focus, be reminded to contemplate. These are objects of meditation. It's like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? That's how the tarot is meant to be used. It is initiatic. It is a meditative tool. Naught becomes all, to realize the span of naught, O perfect universe of Pan. Now, it would be completely remiss to not go to read the card here, so let's take a look at what the Book of Thoth says. All right. Page 116. 21. The universe. I also want to add that 21, 2 plus 1 is 3, which is Saturn. 3 is associated with the number of Saturn. So 21, the universe. The first and most obvious characteristic of this card is that it comes at the end of all, and therefore is the complement of the full. It is attributed to the letter Tau. The two cards, the full and the universe, together accordingly spell the word et, which means essence. All reality is consequently comprised in the series of which these two letters form the beginning and the end. This beginning was nothing. The end must therefore be also nothing, but nothing in its complete expansion, as previously explained. The number 4, rather than the number 2, was chosen as the basis of this expansion, partly, no doubt, for convenience, to enlarge the universe of discourse, partly to emphasize the idea of limitation. 4 represents limitations, the square. And the square is behind her head. The letter Tau means the sign of the cross. That is, of extension, and this extension is symbolized as fourfold, because of the convenience of constructing the revolving symbol of Tetragrammaton. In the case of the number 2, the only issue is the return to the unity, or to the negative. No continuous process can be conveniently symbolized, but the number 4 lends itself not only to this rigid extension, the hard facts of nature, but also to the transcendence of space and time by a continuously self-compensating change. The letter Tau is attributed to Saturn, the outermost and slowest of the 7 sacred planets. Because of these dull, heavy qualities, the element of earth was thrust upon the symbol. The original 3 elements, fire, air, water, sufficed for primitive thought. Earth and spirit represent a later accretion. Neither is to be found in the original 22 paths of the Sefer Yetzirah. The world of Asiya, the material world, does not appear except as a pendant to the tree of life. In the same way, the element of spirit is attributed to the letter Shin as an additional ornament, somewhat in the same way as Keter is said to be symbolized by the topmost point of the Yod of Tetragrammaton. Remember that Yod is associated with fire also, and yet the topmost point of the Yod is in spirit, in Keter. It is consequently necessary to distinguish between the symbols of philosophical theory and those more elaborate symbols based upon them which are necessary in practical work. Saturn and Earth have certain qualities in common: heaviness, coldness, dryness, immobility, dullness, and the like. Yet Saturn appears in Binah in respect of its blackness in the Queen scale, which is the scale of observed nature, but always, as soon as the end of a process is reached, it returns automatically to the beginning. In chemistry, it is the heaviest elements that are unable in terrestrial conditions to support the strain and stress of their internal structure. Consequently, they radiate particles of the most tenuous character in the highest activity. In an essay written in Cefalù, Sicily, on the second law of thermodynamics, it was suggested that at the absolute zero of the air thermometer an element heavier than uranium might exist, of such a nature that it was capable of reconstituting the entire series of elements. It was a chemical interpretation of the equation 0 equals 2. It becomes then reasonable to argue from analogy that since the end must beget the beginning, the symbolism will follow. Hence, blackness is also attributed to the sun, according to a certain long-hidden tradition. One of the shocks for candidates in the mysteries was the revelation Osiris is a black god. Saturn, therefore, it's referring to like Saturn, which has that color. Saturn, therefore, is masculine. He is the old god, the god of fertility, the sun in the south, but equally the great sea, the great mother, and the letter Tau upon the tree of life appears as an emanation from the moon of Yesod, the foundation of the tree and representative of the reproductive process and of the equilibrium between change and stability, or rather their identification. The influence of the path descends upon the earth, Malkut, the daughter. Here again appears the doctrine of setting the daughter upon the throne of the mother. In the card itself there is consequently a glyph of the completion of the great work in its highest sense, exactly as the Atu of the Fool symbolizes its beginning. The Fool is the negative issuing into manifestation. The universe is that manifestation, its purpose accomplished, ready to return. The 20 cards that lie between these two exhibit the great work and its agents in various stages. The image of the universe in this sense is accordingly that of a maiden, the final letter of Tetragrammaton. In the present card she is represented as a dancing figure. In her hand she manipulates the radiant spiral force, the active and the passive, each possessing its dual polarity. Her dancing partner is shown as Heru Raha of Atu 19. The sun, strength, and sight, light, these are for the servants of the star and the snake. This final form of the image of the magical formula of the god combines and transforms so many symbols that description is difficult and would be nugatory. The proper method of study of this card, indeed of all, but of this especially, is long-continued meditation. The universe, so states the theme, is the celebration of the great work accomplished. In the corners of the card are the 4 cherubim, showing the established universe, and about her is an ellipse composed of 72 circles for the quinaries of the zodiac, the Shem HaMepharesh. He's talking about these lines right here. These lines, there's 72 of them, and it's turning. It's the quinaries of the zodiac, the Shem HaMepharesh. So it's the turning of the cosmos. In the center of the lower part of the card is represented the skeleton plan of the building of the house of matter. It shows the 92 known chemical elements arranged according to their rank in the hierarchy. The design is due to the genius of the late J.W.N. Sullivan. See the Bases of Modern Science. In the center, a wheel of light initiates the form of the tree of life, showing the 10 principal bodies of the solar system. But this tree is not visible except to those of wholly pure heart. 1. The primum mobile, represented by Pluto. Compare the doctrine of the alpha particles of radium. 2. The sphere of the zodiac, or fixed stars, represented by Neptune. 3. Saturn. The abyss. This is represented by Herschel, the planet of disintegration and explosion. 4. Jupiter. 5. Mars. 6. The Sun. 7. Venus. 8. Mercury. 9. The Moon. 10. The Earth, the 4 elements. All these symbols swim and dance in a complex but continuous ambiance of loops and whirls. The general color of the traditional card is subfusc. It represents the confusion and darkness of the material world. But the new eon has brought fullness of light. In the minutum mundum, Earth is no longer black but of mixed colors. Earth is no longer black or of mixed colors, but is pure bright green. So traditionally Malkut is of mixed colors, and or it's black representing the darkness of matter. Like you turn out the light, it's dark. Similarly, but it's no longer black or of mixed colors, but is pure bright green. Similarly, the indigo of Saturn is derived from the blue velvet of the midnight sky, and the maiden of the dance represents the issue from this, yet through this to the eternal. This card is today as bright and glowing as any in the pack. Now I'm going to read a little supplement here. And this here is clearly talking about like the anima mundi. And it just talked about like the whole solar system is represented there. Indeed, the quinaries of the zodiac, the whole cosmos. And so we have this idea of the anima mundi, the world soul. All right. On page 143, the universe, the virgin universe, from the vision in the voice, ninth aether. And also, if you've read Wake World, it represents the nephesh, or the animal soul of the candidate wedded to the holy guardian angel. Anyways, we are come unto a palace of which every stone is a separate jewel, and is set with millions of moons. And this palace is nothing but the body of a woman, proud and delicate, and beyond imagination fair. She is like a child of 12 years old, like in Wake World. It's a young maiden. It's not a mother, it's a maiden. It's the daughter. She is like a child of 12 years old. She has very deep eyelids and long lashes. Her eyes are closed, or nearly closed. It is impossible to say anything about her. She is naked. Her whole body is covered with fine gold hairs, which are the electric flames, which are the spears of mighty and terrible angels, whose breastplates are the scales of her skin. And the hair of her head that flows down to her feet is the very light of God himself. Of all the glories beheld by the seer in the aethers, there is not one which is worthy to be compared with her littlest fingernail. For although he may not partake of the aether without the ceremonial preparations, even the beholding of this aether from afar is like the partaking of all the former aethers. The seer is lost in wonder, which is peace. And the ring of the horizon above her is a company of glorious archangels with joined hands that stand and sing. This is the daughter of Babylon the beautiful. She hath borne unto the Father of all, and unto all hath she borne her. This is the daughter of the King. This is the Virgin of eternity. This is she that the Holy One hath wrested from the giant Time, and the prize of them that have overcome space. This is she that is set upon the throne of understanding. Holy, holy, holy is her name, not to be spoken among men. For Cori they have called her, and Malka, and Betula, and Persephone. And the poets have feigned songs about her, and the prophets have spoken vain things, and the young men have dreamed vain dreams. But this is she, that immaculate, the name of whose name may not be spoken. Thought cannot pierce the glory that defendeth her, for thought is smitten dead before her presence. Memory is blank, and in the most ancient books of magic are neither words to conjure her, nor adorations to praise her. Will bends like a reed in the tempests that sweep the borders of her kingdom, and imagination cannot figure so much as one petal of the lilies whereon she standeth, in the lake of crystal in the sea of glass. This is she that hath bedecked her hair with 7 stars, the 7 breaths of God that move and thrill its excellence. And she hath tired her hair with 7 combs, whereupon are written the 7 secret names of God, that are not known even of the angels, or of the archangels, or of the leader of the armies of the Lord. Holy, holy, holy art thou, and blessed be thy name forever, unto whom the aeons are but the pulsings of thy blood. So, as I always say, these cards are to be contemplated and meditated upon. This is not something that I can just explain it in a video and everyone's like, oh, I get it. I can give food for thought. But really, these are things to really be meditated upon. I really encourage y'all to contemplate this card for this week, to really think about this card and what it means for you individually and also universally. So there's an infinite amount more that I could say about this card, but I think that will suffice for today. So we're going to keep moving through the deck. This is just the first one. We're going to keep working up the Tree of Life. We're going to keep working with these cards. So that is the Thoth Tarot looking at the Universe card. And we're just going to keep going a little bit deeper here. So thank you so much for joining me, and thank you very much for supporting my work on Patreon. So I give a heartfelt thank you for that, and I will see y'all in the next video. Alright, keep up the great work, y'all. Pun intended. Alright, see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much.